Okay, this person here, I forget his name. I think it's Cornell something or another. I'll get it. He is why in my other videos that I made about reparation payments that I said stop the payments when you get to people like him in his age. He needs to just waive his rights and stop speaking on reparations for the people who qualify for it. Because whether he qualifies for it or not, listen to the point that he's going to make. Chuck Todd is about to lay out a scenario and then listen to his answer. And this is why I say after 1990, not because I agree with him, but after 1990, people like him that want to exclude themselves because they were unaffected by slavery, they should not get a payment.
Let me follow up a little bit, Coleman, because it is interesting that there are some forms of specific areas where you believe a
Burgess
reparation
Coleman
of sorts should be put there.
That's his name.
How do you distinguish Jim Crow? And what is the right amount of time? And I say that Germany is still paying reparations to now descendants of Holocaust victims.
Now, did you hear that? I have to leave their face like that. So you hear that? Germany is still paying reparations to the descendants for what they did. What makes them think that we should not get reparations as the descendants? So please listen to his answer. Because you know some people said, oh, she's harsh. She's saying anybody after 1990 shouldn't be paid reparations. It's people like him that are stopping the rest of us for getting it, and they're trying to time us out and wait for us to die.
Is the timeline where you feel like where you would draw the line?
So I think reasonable people can disagree on this, and I don't claim to have the last word on the subject.
Don't worry,
but I think
you
we can all agree reparations should be paid ideally in the lifetime of the victim. If the victim dies, it should be paid to their spouse or to their children. Once you get to grandchildren and beyond, my personal view is that that's beyond my line. But like I said, reasonable people can disagree on this, but there's no doubt that, in my view, crimes from the 1850s and 60s are beyond the statute of limitations.
Do you see this?
Okay, so he's putting a statute of limitation on it. We suffered through slavery, even when slavery was over, before this little piss-ass punk was even born. We literally suffered from the effects of slavery and directly from slavery, even though the government claims slavery was over. What he has been allowed from the time he was born up until the age he is now, which is his late 20s or early 30s or mid 30s, he never had to suffer any of the effects of slavery like I did, like my children did. And so that's why people like him, they don't want the reparations, and they should be excluded. I think his name is Burgess Coleman.
Where services can sort of be what is reparations. So maybe it is free college, maybe it's discounted college, maybe it is tax breaks, however you want to describe it. Is that an acceptable form in your opinion?
It is an acceptable form. And when we look at what we call reparatory compensation programs in government, they use a variety of strategies to help make people whole. But let's go to this point about indirect victims. When we look at the policies, when we look at government, when we look at history, we actually do compensate people who have suffered a harm indirectly and their heirs. Think about this.
And no, it is not okay for him or the other person to tell me the land that I would have inherited just be compensated by being paid to go to college for free or getting free taxes. Absolutely not. Don't decide for me and people like me and my kids. Decide for yourself. Just sign a waiver. Any Black American who feels the way that these people feel should not be requesting reparations, and they should not be speaking on behalf of people like myself and elders and my kids. Even if my kids feel like too much time has gone by and they don't want their payment, their cash payment for the land, literal land that belonged in our family that the government stole, that the government took, they can waive their rights too. But don't speak for other people and don't conflate the cash payment with going to college, helping us get a house, helping us get loans. I don't want that. That's not my reparations. That's not what you took from me. And that's not what you're going to compensate me for.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Black Wall Street was bombed from the air. Homes were burned on the ground. No compensation, including for victims who are over 100 years old today.
Exactly.
But when we bombed islands in the South Pacific, as in the U.S. government, we paid compensation to direct victims, indirect victims, and their heirs as a consequence of an American government bombing people on the ground. The point being here,
and that's the point, is people got to stop saying my taxes ain't gonna pay, and you don't have no taxes. The United States collects taxes from everybody. Work taxes, the taxes when you buy a property, taxes when we go to the store and shop. So even if you're no longer working, you're still going to pay taxes till you die. Because if you want to eat, you got to pay taxes. If you want a place to live, you got to pay taxes. If you want a vehicle to drive, you got to pay taxes on it.
When you look at reparatory compensation programs, what you find is the variety of direct and indirect victims who are compensated for nearly every group but black people.
Except for black.
I'll play a clip from Ronald Reagan after he signed a bill to repay Japanese Americans who were detained during World War II. Here's what he said in August of 1988.
They were detained.
Yet no payment can make up for those lost years. So what is most important in this bill has less to do with property than with honor. For here we admit a wrong. Here we reaffirm our commitment as a nation to equal justice under the law.
Coleman, is that a model for how America should deal with this?
That's exactly what they should be doing, and ignoring little piss ass like him.
Like I said, the opportunity was missed in the lifetimes of slaves. I know of 0 examples of an ethnic group getting reparations 150 years after the crime in question. Now, when it comes to honor and symbolic apologies, I completely...
And the reason why he knows of no group that has not been paid or compensated by the government, and his name is Coleman Hughes. The reason why he knows of no group is because all those groups were compensated. It is only black Americans and white Americans. Because please, let's not forget that mulattoes and white Americans also qualify for reparations. Those that had a slave in their family, or those that are black passing as white. We are due our compensation because the government never paid it. That's why so much time has gone by. So, all right, I'm going to go because this video is getting a little long in the tooth. People like him, they should be disqualified. This is his name. He's a columnist and writer, Coleman Hughes.